Hey guys, Kenny Austin here from KA Designs. It's 1970. K Austin is my designer name in GSPro and on Discord. I'm going to go through the entire process of how we actually build a course, start to finish. This is not intended to show you how to do one. If you're interested in learning to design one, there's a great series on YouTube called None to Done, and I'll try to put some links in this description of this video to that. And also, Discord has a great channel called Zeros and Ones. It's a community of designers. This is more just to give you an overview, kind of how it goes from nothing to a course. So first things first, when I'm looking at a course, I want to find out if it has any kind of decent overhead pictures. So we're going to go into Google Maps. I'm working on Annandale Golf Club. Currently, it's in Madison, Mississippi. And pull this up, make sure I've got a decent look. Looks okay. I'll pull it up in Bing Maps also, but this is just to kind of give y'all an idea. I'll pull it up on Google Earth. Google Earth has some really good images, so that's what I'm using as my reference. I can't actually use this to design, but I will use it as a reference. So we'll come back to that. Then once I decide, yes, we're going to go ahead and do it, we have to get what's called LiDAR, which is the elevations. Gives us all of the different hills, bumps, valleys, dips, breaks on the green, all of that kind of stuff. So we come into the USGS site and we'll outline exactly what I'm looking for. It'll show me what's available. So I've got all of these different ones. I'll download what I want, and then we take it through a couple of other programs. I'm not going to get into it because it's kind of boring, but it converts all of this image into some files that we can actually use. Some raw files, which are the actual terrain data itself. It creates these overlays that match up exactly with that terrain data. And then from there, we will take it into Unity. Unity is kind of where the magic happens. It's where everything gets processed. So when you first pull in your terrain, this is all you'll see. You'll see some bumps and some dips and valleys, and of course, it doesn't look like anything. But once you bring in, let's do this real quick. Do that. 100. And we're going to bring in our intersect here. We're going to add it, and magically, it starts to show up. Now, this is just a picture at this point. It's not actually the course itself. We're going to come back to that in just a second. I'm going to turn off this wireframe, which means nothing to you, but it gets rid of those little lines. All right, let's see. So from there, we go into something called Inkscape, and that's currently where I am. And up to this point, I have 6 holes done. In Inkscape, we go in and we define everything. So we tell it what's a tee box, what's a fairway, what's a green, bunkers, lakes, deep rough, where I've got some really deep grasses that I'll plant later. I have to define everything. Once we do that, we run it through this processor. And let's see, I think I've got that pulled up. I'm about to do it actually. Yes. All right. So the guys have created all of these tools, these OPCD tools that help you build courses. And part of that, they have a processor that takes those Inkscape shapes and processes it into usable, something called meshes. And then from those meshes, so I'll run this, I'll get a reply back, and it'll have all of the meshes cut out. So I take those meshes and we take them into a program called Blender. Blender will take all of those meshes. I import the terrain data into here. I import the meshes into here. I conform it all together, and it wraps all of that stuff around the terrain. So it gives the elevations, the bumps, the humps, and it gives it to the grasses that we're actually going to use. From there, we take that, we export that back into Unity. So let's go back into Unity. All right. So we get all of that stuff back into Unity and we drag it over into something called our hierarchy, which is actually where we plan the scene. So I need to turn this off real quick. Turn that off. And I've already done a lot of this. This is not real time. But when you bring it back in, you will get your shapes back in. And this is where it actually starts to look like a golf course. So I've got my tee box defined. I've got my little walking path. I've got my rough over here. I've got some deep rough right here. We can go up the path. We've got some bunkers. Right now they have no shape. I'll come back into Blender and I'll do all of that. I'll show you all that later in the video, another step. But you can kind of see it starting to actually look like a course. This is what will become a lake. Has no shape right now. I'll have to come back in and dig all of that out and create the lips and the contours and all that fun stuff. No trees yet. We go back in through Photoshop, and if I kind of elevate, you can kind of see it. So this something called sat shading, satellite. We use the satellites to create the different colors of the grass, but we've got to get rid of some of these trees that are in there. So we go into Photoshop and we'll stamp out a lot of that stuff. It's another step that's kind of boring, but it's very needed, or you end up with these weird little colors all over the place. So that's where we are right now. I'm going to end this one and I'll pick back up at the next stop. All right, so I'm working on hole 7 now, and I realized that I didn't really show you guys how you define everything. I talked about defining the bunkers and the fairways and the lakes and everything. So the tedious part of this is actually defining everything. So I've done most of everything here. I'm going to do this bunker and show you exactly what we do. So this is the Bing view. You can see there's some trees in the way, so I can pull up the Google view, or I can pull up the what's called Hillshade, which is the actual terrain itself, and it shows the little outline there. The Bing has been the most accurate. We adjust all of these as we go, but I'll kind of show you here. So we'll start with Bing. And I just go around, all the way around, point by point. You got to define the margin exactly where you want it. And then when I get here, I'll switch over. I can kind of come around, so I'm needing to be just a little bit outside, I can tell. So I'll continue just a little outside. All right, I'll come around where the tree has it blocked out. And we'll go back to Bing and see how we are. We're doing pretty good. So we'll come back around the rest of the way. And this is where it gets very tedious. A lot of clicking. And I'll come around here and complete it. Gives us the outline. Say if this was a tee box, I would go in here and tell it that it's a tee box. But since it's a bunker, we're going to call it a bunker. All right, that's it. We'll be back for another section. All righty, we're back in Inkscape. We've defined all of the shapes, everything, cart path, roads, lakes, tees, greens, you name it, we've defined it. So this is the entire course. And so from here, I submitted it to the processor. The processor went through after several attempts. It's not a quick process. Speaking of that, I'm trying to keep this video as short as I can and still kind of show y'all exactly what goes on, but just realize that however long this video ends up being, this is probably 150, 200 hours worth of work start to finish. So from Inkscape, once I processed it, I can bring it into Blender. Blender is what will take all of these defined shapes, they turn them into something called splines, and then I will import, I'm about to do that, I'll import my terrain data. You can see right now everything's flat. So we're about to import the terrain data. First, I've got to get a little script here real quick. Okay, go back to layout. We're going to import data, import terrain. We want our terrain enter, import. That takes just a minute. I'm going to pause in a second because there's a long process here in a second. Okay, so that's finished. Now we're going to do our outer. I have to tell it the size of everything. I'm going to import my outer. There we go. That'll go pretty quick. And that's finished. Now we're going to create outer plot. That's really quick. All right, and then the next thing, I'll pause while this goes on. So now I've got my terrain, heights, and everything in here. I've got my splines, but I need to wrap everything onto the terrain. So we go in here, we click this little button, we conform to terrain. This takes a minute. I'm going to pause real quick while this runs. All right, so we're back. Everything got conformed. You can see it's no longer flat. We've got humps and bumps and stuff everywhere. In Blender, we still have to go in and hand do the bunkers, the lakes. There's a lot more conforming that goes on. There's a lot of stuff that happens in Blender, and I'm not going to sit here and make you watch all of it. I'll come back in and do a few things just to kind of show you how stuff happens. But for now, that's going to be it, and I'll come back with another video and attach it all together. All right, I'm back. I'm in Unity currently. It's another piece of software. This is a good place to kind of show you a few of the things that we can do with Blender. I've already created the little ditch here. You can see a lake over here that we've created. I don't like the way this one turned out. It's got a really sharp edge on this side, just doesn't look natural. You can see how this side looks a lot more natural. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower this a little bit and kind of create a bevel here. We do that in Blender, and I thought this would be a good time to show you a couple of the capabilities of some of the things we work with. All right, so this is the view in Unity. If I get Blender pulled up, this is the view in Blender, okay? So we've got rough over here. I've got my ditch here, and I'm going to select this one little line that runs across the edge of it. And then I can grab that and only work in the Z axis, which is the up and down axis. And then I can slowly bring this thing down. And you can see how it flattens it out a little. Contour looks good. I want to make sure, yeah, I'm getting this cart path. That's not going to work. Yeah, I'm going to get a separation there. You have to be really careful with this, and you don't want to separate meshes. That's pulling that mesh away. You can see if I pull it up, how it kind of pulls away from the cart path right there. So we're not going to do that. Let's go, see, let me raise it up. Let's get rid of this one. So I want to unselect this part, this part, this part, this part, this part, and that part. Let's see if that gets us far enough away now. There we go. All right, grab Z. Yeah, that's far enough away. Okay, so now we're bringing that down, getting a little contour there. Good. So we'll set that right there. I like the looks of that. Okay. And then from there, we export that back out. So we're going to export selected. Let me tab back out. Export those selected. Okay. We'll go in here and find it. It was this one and this one. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to move it into my Unity file. We'll paste it. We're going to overwrite it. And then in real time, we'll go back in. And once it updates, you can see. Now it's all flat. Looks a lot more natural along here. And what I'll do, I'll come back in a minute and I'll add my creek water, my running water down in the creek. But yeah, that looks a lot better. I liked it a lot better. All right, another area that we can do is bunkers. I love altering bunkers. So I've already gotten my main shape here. This was just some other stuff that I've already done. So I like the looks of it. I would love to raise this up just a hair. So we're going to go back into Blender. Let's see, let's find that bunker right there. We'll focus on that bunker. When I'm doing this, I want to make sure that I've got everything clicked. So we're going to click the blend shape, the actual bunker, and the rough around the bunker. Okay. We'll tab into that. I'm just going to pick a couple of little random, let's change back to vertex. We'll click a couple of little random spots here, kind of up and down. Maybe that one, maybe. All right. And this is all just kind of random because, you know, nothing's really uniform in nature. Maybe one right here also, right there. All right, and same thing, we're going to grab Z. We're going to make this little effect a little smaller, and we're just going to raise it up a little. Get a little bit of rippling. We can extend it where we don't get quite as much of that. That's pretty good. And then we want to raise this up. All right, looks good. We'll tab out. Same thing we just did. We're going to export selected FBX. We'll go back in here and find the ones we just did. That one, and that one. We'll copy those. We'll move them back into our Unity file. Replace them. We'll go back to our Blender, and you can watch right here. You can see how it raised up. So now I've got a little bit more defined lip. It's raised up. We've got a little irregularity here, a little shape there. And I go around the entire course and just kind of hand do these little by little. So It's a long process, but it's the details that I really think set these courses apart. So that's it for this section. I'll come back and show you a little more. All right. I decided to come on back, and I talked about making a little creek with some running water. I thought I'd show you that real quick. With that, we're in Unity for that. I'm going to create a 3D object, a river spline, and we just go along the creek here. Let's get a little bit closer where I can get it defined better. And we're just going to click along here. I'm going to pause while I do the rest of the clicking. All right, I'm back. I've put all of my little points down through here. I've adjusted on the width, the height, make a good little continuous creek. Right now it's still white. That's just the default material. It helps you kind of see where the edges are. It's really hard to see once you put the water on it. But now we're going to put the water on it. So go in here and find what I want to use. I really like this one. I've already got this one set up like I like it. I drag it over into the material slot, and we've got a moving creek. Got a little rapid here where it goes down, curves back around. It's really neat. You can create all of these different little effects just depending on how you raise or lower the water. You can create waterfalls on the Judge course. I've got a really cool little water feature, a little waterfall. But I've got it running all the way down through here. I want to make sure where it enters to the lake that it looks natural. So we've got it flow in, and it flows right in. I'm probably going to have to darken this up just a hair. I don't like the color, but I can play with that a little bit later and try to get it to match up a little bit better. The lake's a little bit darker than the creek right now, but that's something I can play with. That's not a big deal. But all right, on to another section. And we're back. All right, so I've gone through Unity. We do something called sap shading a lot. We've got these different materials that are the grass on these scenes, and you've probably noticed some of them look kind of really standard. Some of them a little more detailed than others. And one of the things we use is Photoshop a pretty good bit. And I've already done most of this, unfortunately, but I'm going to kind of go out to an outside area and show you. But I can kind of show you what we've done so far. We've got our tees cleared out, got a little fairway around them, got a little walking path on this course. It's kind of unique, kind of cool. I've gone in and I've put some bridges in. We've got a little walking bridge here. We've got the cart path bridge over here. I've gone in and stamped out. That's what I'm going to show you in Photoshop all around the bunkers. And I got a good clean look. I hadn't gone back into Blender, and I'll do a little bit more on these bunkers, but they're pretty good like they are. So I probably won't have to do a whole lot. But I went in a couple of places and smoothed out some edges. So like this part of the water here, I've got it where it's rolling in. Got a little bit of grass kind of coming down to the edge. Put in a couple of bulkhead retaining walls. This is number 18 where you're coming in. Really cool finishing hole. But anyway, so Photoshop. Let me get back out here where I can kind of show you. So all of these green, these really dark green areas are where trees are on the overhead satellite image. And these way out here, I'll probably leave because from ground level, it looks pretty cool. It looks like darker grass. So you get a good illusion of different colored grasses in the distance. But when they're up close, you try to stamp them out and you don't get the shadows. But let me get out here. Let's see where I won't mess anything up. This will be a pretty good area right out here. Yeah, on the back side of this lake. That'll be perfect right there. Because I had to do this on the lake where it was visible. So this will actually be a really good spot. So we go into Photoshop, and Photoshop has a whole lot of stuff. I've learned a lot of Photoshop here recently, but you can get around. Let's see where I am on that. We're showing you right there. So we're going to kind of zoom in. And we do several things in Photoshop. So if I look over here, these are kind of my different little tools. But if I take this away and I go back up here, this is the actual overhead image right here. Let me turn off that stamp. We'll put this one on and put it up to 100%. So this is what it would look like without anything added. And you would have to stamp out a lot on this course. Now, some courses I don't have to worry about this. Got a lot cleaner overhead, but this one had a lot of stuff in it. So we use something called a cloud. Anyway, it's a material, and then we do the overhead. We reduce it and take the opacity down, way down. And then that way we just have to kind of have an outline, and 21% is where I was. But we've still got this little area, and you can see it here where it's kind of white. And that's where this part of the lake is showing through. So what we're going to do is make sure I'm on the right spot here. This is rough. We're going to clone stamp some of this out. And I've got to find a good area. That's a good area to use. So we take a sample. It's a little bit bigger. We take a sample from here and we stamp it over here. Get our sample again. Drag it across here. The lake itself is a whole different material, so I don't have to worry about that. It kind of takes care of itself. It's just the border. So we're going to go in. See if we can get a little bit more right here. So we can get rid of the trees. So, if I'm trying to get rid of the trees, I stamp and drag. All right. And then we have to export it. So we're going to go in here, export as, and this will take it into Unity, where you'll actually be able to see it transform right before your eyes. This is the rough. So we're going to save. Yes, we want to overwrite it. And I'll minimize this. I didn't have it up, sorry. Well, you won't see it right before your eyes, but once I pull it up, you can see it's gone right here. So that's what we do all over the whole entire course. It's a lot, but it turns out some really good results. And I'm going to pause and I'll pull up a couple of other courses and kind of show you what I'm talking about. All right, so this is a different course that I just finished that had a really good satellite overhead. I didn't have to do very much stamping. It was ideal. And if I go way up where the grass will disappear, so you can see, I mean, it is almost like a picture. And this is what the sat shading will do for you. It gets this kind of detail, which is just insane on this course. And then you come back in and you can see the grass kind of appear as we come up close. But you layer in some grass, some deep grasses, and you get a links course. Really love this course. Mossy Oak, it's on the main server. Pull it up. Really enjoyed making it. Love playing it. But that kind of gives you an idea of what satellite shading is all about. So at this point, we've been through Inkscape. We've been through processing all of the Inkscape shapes, taking them into Blender, shaping everything up, coming into Unity, playing around in Unity, adding bridges, adding water. What else did we do in here? Photoshop, stamped everything out, and now we've got pretty much, I've still got a few other little things that I'll do along the way, but for the most part, we've got basically what we want. But at this point, we still don't have any trees or grass or really anything to make it look like a golf course. So what we have to do in Unity is we have to build a course. So what this does, it takes it basically into a format that will work within GSPro. I'm not going to do it. I've already done it, and it takes a little while. But you click this little button, you tell it where you want it to go, you find your file, and you hit build. And it will build it into a format to be able to play in GSPro. Once we do that, this is where people like myself, designers like myself, kind of got caught in the middle. There was a software that the designers used to use called Vegetation Studio Pro, VS Pro for short, and it allowed them to mix grasses together, mix trees together, create things called biomes, and then plant them on the course. And that company quit being supported. So that software quit being offered. And designers like myself, it was around, I believe, the end of 2024, it quit being available. So we were kind of stuck in the middle with what we could actually do. And then the guys, the OPCD guys, developed a program called Arborist. And by now, most of you have seen this on courses. It's wonderful. It's based off of a lot of the theories of VS Pro. But what it does, and I thought this would be really cool, I'm not going to show you doing this over the whole course, but basically you find an area. So this is a deep grass area. You can kind of see the difference in the color here between the rough. So I've got fairway, rough, deep rough assigned here. And in this software, we will define an area, which I've already done. And this is my area. So I've defined this area. And then once we do that, we actually go in and build what's called a biome. So we're going to go here, biome. We're going to create a new one. We're going to call this delete because this is not one I want to keep. And we're going to call this one number 2. Number 2. There we go. Okay. Then we're going to go to edit that biome. And as we do this, these items will show up here. I already know what I want to do, but what we do is we'll go in here, and we got all these little assets here to choose from. And you can go into a 3D browse and actually look at some of them. Let's go. This will shorten it up. You don't want a bunch. Takes a long time. But this is kind of what I did. I went in through the grass blades and kind of flew around, and it shows the actual grass blades. So you know exactly what they're going to look like. You don't know what they'll look like together yet, but it gives you a good idea of kind of what you're looking for. Once you know what you're looking for, get back out of that. Let's see, I was using, see if I can remember what all I used on this. Now let's just do this. I know I want 09, that one, that grass. I used a 10, which was that one, that grass. And I used a 3. Which one? Which one I used? Oh, it was that one right there. That grass. All right. So all of those have added in. And then you come in here and you can play with, let's go back to our first one. There's our first one. We can isolate it. So this is our first one. And we can come in and play with all kind of stuff. We can change the height, make it big, make it small. We can change how much is there, more, less. And you do that for each item. You can change the color. So we go in here with the color. Don't like that color. Well, let's make it a little more red. Let's make this part. So, I mean, this is where the art really happens, and I love this part. Love this part of course developing. It just kind of brings out your artistic eye, and everybody is so different with what they do. So what I'll show you without going through a whole bunch here, I'm going to go back and get rid of this one while I'm thinking about it. So we'll delete that one out. And then I already finished the product. So we're going to go to here, and this is what I ended up with. So I've got a good blend of some lighter, some darker, blends in good with my natural grasses, which is what you want. You want this to look like grass. You want it to look like it would on the golf course. So I got some lighter tips on this one. Got a little bit of the brown mixed in for the dead grass. In the summer, you know, in the deep rough in the summer in the south, we obviously doesn't get watered a lot, so you see a lot of that, the green mixed with the brown. But that's kind of the basics of it. We do the same thing with trees. So with my trees, I will probably bring some of this grass in under the trees, but we blend the trees the same way. And so, like, there's a good example of something. So this is sticking out a little bit. So I'll go back in, and all it takes is you move this little line, and it brings it out of the regular rough and back only into the deep rough. And I'll go around once I get done with everything, and you can kind of add in a spot here. So we want to add a spot here, bring that out just a little. And it's crazy. I mean, this makes putting grasses out, putting trees out so much more refined. You can just really define everything so much better. So anyway, I thought y'all would enjoy that. This is, like I said, this is probably my favorite part when it really starts going from just the basics to an actual golf course. So, all right. Probably won't be back until almost the very end, but we'll be back sometime soon and show you the completed product. All right, we're going to take a break from the course that I'm currently building and show you a little bit. Greenkeeper is another software that we use, another piece of software that we use. I've already done everything on the course that I'm building as far as Greenkeeper is concerned. I'm still planting grasses and trees, so we're not quite to that finish point yet. But I also do a lot of beta checks for other designers, and I thought this would be a great place to show you guys kind of what goes on within Greenkeeper. Greenkeeper is I guess I would call it kind of the driving force of what actually tells GSPro where to go on the course. So in this piece of software, we will actually define the course. So course name, designer name, where it's located, the the par and the index ratings for all of the holes. It's where we add the splash image, the little image that shows up when you look at the courses. We put out of bounds in here, so I can go around and move these out of bounds. This is anything I do here will not affect this person's course. This is just where I go in and check everything. But if I was going to tell them, let's say that when I came in here to look, when they had set the out of bounds, they had accidentally put it here. I can go in, take a picture. I can reposition it slightly, take another picture and tell them, this is kind of where it should be to get this house totally out of bounds. We go in hazards. All right. So all of the water hazards, they don't just show up. You have to tell GSPro where they are. So this is an inner out of bounds that he's defined around these houses. Here's one of the lakes. I'm not sure which number it is. I usually just go through and click as I go. But, you define it. And this actually, on this particular one, he's got a retaining wall, a bulkhead around it. And I took a picture of this one because really with the bulkhead, you want this thing really up tight. If not, where he's got it, when you guys play, if the ball lands here, not in the water, but right here, you're going to have to play it as it lies and really kind of disrupt the flow of the game. So I told him that we needed to really snug this up really close to the wall itself. That way the ball's either in play or in the hazard. Now with other, I don't know if he's got one, with other hazards that don't have that retaining wall, I tend to like them a little bit away from the water because when you get your drop, there's usually a little bit of slope here. So I'll typically put them about right here. Let's see, tees. So we have to go through and define every tee. This process is one of the slower processes. I talk about tedious, I guess, on everything, and everything slightly is. But yeah, so from up above, oh, sorry, making you a little drunk here. From up above, we can set the tees. So here, you can see the yardage changes here when I move it. The aim point, we have to tell you kind of where you're going to be looking. We can drag that around, put that wherever we want. And then we have one little icon that defines where the green is. Let's see if I can make that a little bit bigger. There we go. If we put it out here, then Greenkeeper would think the green was out here. GSPro would play the green is out here. Go through there. We do all the tees. We come back. Same thing with the pins. So on hole 1, we're going to zoom to view. And this is where we look at the slope. So we can check here. And this tells us the slopes of the greens. So we know this little ring, we don't want to put a pin that's that close to the edge. We don't want to put a pin that's right on this red. You can see how this turned red. It's not technically telling me I can't put that pin there, but it's telling me I should not put that pin there. So, we move it over to where it's in a good spot with the white showing. Let's go. Well, let me clear this out. Hang on. There we go. Let's go conditions. So this is where we kind of set our recommended defaults. We can tell you, like on a links course that I did, I recommended that you play the greens and the fairways firm or hard. The stimp, your recommended stimp. The wind, what we recommend the wind to be. On a links course, I usually recommend a little bit of wind. Let's see, scorecard. All right, so scorecard is where we set the ratings. That's going to be what's going to help define handicap. If you guys try to play enough where you actually get a handicap, this defines the handicap. So we go in and we put in the actual course ratings for each tee. And tools. So we've got a couple of different tools that we look at. One thing is the benchmark. So this, I'm going to pull up the report I just ran. So this flies around the entire course and it checks frame rate, which will affect how your computer reacts with it. Everything is benchmarked to the minimum recommended computer. So we look for, if we can get it, we look for 100% score. And that lets us know that even on the very minimum computer, it should run fine. So that's one of the things we look at. Lot of adjusting goes on there. And then the collider inspector is the last thing we look at. Hang on, before I do that, I need to turn on. So this is where we can click on or off all of his trees. You can see the trees kind of show up. We'll go back, make sure that's on. Let's go to tees, and I will fly around every hole. Let's get that marker size a little smaller. But I'll fly around every hole and make sure that all the colliders look correct. So when you're in game, the game doesn't know that, hey, this is a tree, I've got to bounce off of it. What it knows is, hey, this is a tree, and they have put a collider on here. So when the ball hits this blue, the blue is defined as a leaf. So it knows how to react to leaves. If it hits the green, that is wood, it knows how to react to wood, and it will react differently. The blue on the water is a water collider, so when it hits, it triggers that little splash that you see. So all of this stuff doesn't just happen. We have to define every little bit of it. So, but that's the basics of what this software is. Thought this would be a good place to put it. Okay, we're back. Sorry this is such a long video. I was trying to make it short and it's ended up being over an hour, but that just shows you what all goes into it. So we've been through Inkscape, we went through Blender, we took Blender into Unity, then we took it into Arborist, we used a little bit of Photoshop along the way, and probably a few other things that I left out that I can't remember. But now we are standing on number 1 tee at Annandale Golf Club in Madison, Mississippi. And I thought you guys would enjoy a little flyover of what we've created. So without further ado, let's see if I can get this thing to work. F5, there we go. All right, we've got our railing down the left side. I had to come back in and adjust lighting. The lighting was really dark, and that's one of the great things about the beta program is I took it into beta and immediately 3 guys shouted back, too dark, try this, and gave me a few different ideas. And man, it turned out great. The rough is looking good. Up under the trees looks good. This hole really turned out great. There we go. This will have a little bit of stutter as I move, so I'm going to try to kind of go slow. But anyway, the ditch along the left side rounded out those edges that we talked about. Got our bridges. I cleared all the cart paths, all the trees. A great view up through here. It's number 2. You can see the dark spots I put in the rough to make it look like a little worn area in the rough. Got the crepe myrtles, different colors, turned out really good. See if we can get through here. Up the little chute, got the little walkway, a little fairway walkway this course has. It was really unique. I hadn't done one of those. That took a while to figure out. Contouring of the bunker, kind of to make it look unique. Got the houses added in. Houses down the side there, right there. I didn't put all the houses. I'm not big on a lot of houses, but when they're really visible, I try to put them in. It seems to, people really like them. All right, number 3, a little downhill. Got an approach coming up over water. Wish I had a little music to play in the background where I didn't have to talk the whole time. I know you guys really don't like my southern accent. Really pretty tee shot here. Got a trees out in the middle of the fairway. It's unusual, but really if you hit a good drive, you fly the trees or you go just a little right, a little left, kind of an obstacle. And then up the right side, you can see the bulkhead turned out great. It took a while on the color. It took me a while on the lake color to get it like I wanted. A lot of playing around with this. People always ask about how much time. This one, I probably spent 250 hours on this course. This one took a lot of work. but I am pretty pleased with how it turned out. A few more houses off to the left. This is actually, I'll show you this house. I built this house. This is a house that I'm currently building to live in. And my wife wanted to be able to see it 3D, so I built it for us. And hey, why not put it on the course? Got the par 3 over water. Little houses on the shore over there. Funny story there, that house is actually a clubhouse, but it looked really good on this course as a house, so why not put it on? And then I'm just going to do the front. I'm not going to show you the whole course. If you want to see the whole course, you can see see it in beta. Currently, it's on the beta server, and eventually it'll be on the main server. But got a lot of landscaping up around the clubhouse. I built the clubhouse. A lot of times we'll use a already built clubhouse and just put it in. This one is really unique, so I thought it was worth building. One other thing I didn't really show y'all, House Builder. It's another program that you can construct houses. I built that. They've got a neat little, got a little clock there, driving range with the balls in the bag. But they've got a really cool little teaching facility here that I decided to build also because it was kind of unique. But it turned out great also. All right. Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. And till next time.